Hey there, everyone. This is going to be just a quick impressions about the Nioh demo that is out right now on PS4. It's just the alpha demo, so who knows what it'll actually, if the actual game will be like this. I assume it will be. I assume that this is, um, I don't know when it's supposed to be released, but I hope relatively soon. Even though it says alpha demo, it doesn't look horribly broken. It looks pretty good and plays pretty well. But I wanted to talk about it because, um, I played through the demo and I've been like replaying the demo a lot. So I figured I should talk about the game and tell you what my thoughts are about Nioh and just I don't know that just the overall thing. I was streaming it in my initial playthrough, and I feel bad now because streaming it was fun, but there's a kind of a steep learning curve to the game, where there's a lot of systems going on in the game, and you play it, and you after you start to learn them and you figure out what's going on, the game gets a lot easier, but it starts out hard. And I should probably describe the game for those who haven't played the demo. It's sort of like Team Ninja has like made their own version of Dark Souls, and it's like Dark Souls in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways it's completely different. So there are some similar things. There is the whole like stamina bar, and you select weapons, and you kind of fight in a more, I don't know, meaningful way in the sense that, like, if you screw up, you'll probably die. That's in this game. But it's not as it's not as slow and kind of methodical as Dark Souls. Like, you don't have to be there's no um there's no shields. You can't like walk slowly upwards with the shield and block and counterattack and stuff like that. It's much more action kind of. The fighting system is it feels a lot like how fighting works in Tokiden, which is also by Tecmo Koei, so it kind of makes sense. The characters don't feel heavy; they feel kind of light, and they actually have combos. So you can learn combos to use, like special attacks during like a chain of attacks. So you can, do a chain of attacks and then at the end add a special attack, or do a half circle like a fireball and hit a button and do a certain other attack. So the attack system is a lot more action game than a Dark Souls type of thing, even though the setup for the kind of base skeleton of the game is essentially the same as Dark Souls. Um, but of course, it doesn't take place in a kind of Western fantasy. It takes place in sort of a Japanese kind of thing where they're in Japan and the settings are all Japanese. It's really kind of a cool setting. And playing the demo, when you start it up, like, it starts off in this area that's kind of almost like a kind of simple battle area. It's along the coast, so you're kind of like walking along the coast, and there's a bunch of water and kind of shacks and a little bit of a forest, and it's kind of bland at first. You start it out and you think like, oh, this doesn't look that great, and there's not a lot of enemy variety. It's just kind of people. Like, you later on, you'll kind of run into a couple of other things, like a zombie thing and one kind of oni, and you think like, oh, is the game going to be just this? But actually, when you go into the second part of the demo, after you beat the boss of the first stage, you can go into the second stage where it's quite different. You're in like a kind of Japanese city kind of thing, or like a town, and it's raining, and you're kind of going up in this kind of river swampish area. It's really it looks a lot better than the first area that they give you, and also it has a lot more variety to the way that the stages work. So there's like different kind of monsters that show up, and again, like different types of oni. Basically, it's just Japanese style yokai kind of monsters, but there's a bit more variety, and it's a bit more interesting once you get to the second stage. And I feel like people are going to play this and they're going to be like, this game is too hard. It's too hard for me to do anything. I can't win. And it's not that hard, really. And I'm saying this after like going through it for a lot. I mean, like playing through it the first time, it does have that kind of Dark Souls feel where it feels really hard when you don't understand what's going on. Like it felt when I was playing it, it felt like playing Dark Souls for the first time in that like I died a bunch because like I didn't understand how the game worked. I didn't understand how fighting worked. I didn't understand how weapon upgrades worked. I didn't understand how to repair or my armor or weapons or what the like kind of status of them went and how quickly they deteriorated and all that. I just didn't understand it. So of course, like when you don't understand that, you go into the game and it's hard. You don't know what's going on. You don't understand the systems yet, and it feels hard. And I've like saw people complaining about it like that it's too hard. Like I don't think it's too hard. It's just like once you get used to the systems, it gets much easier. And I've seen people like saying like I played it for a little bit, but it was too hard and I just gave up. And you probably shouldn't do that because like I mean there's a kind of a steep learning curve at the beginning, but like I assume when the full game comes out, they'll have more of a tutorial that teaches you the systems a bit slower than obviously the demo has the opportunity to do. So anyway, the game itself it's pretty difficult. Um but not too difficult. That's the thing. It's a challenge like a Dark Souls game, but not in the same way as a Dark Souls game. Like I said, there's a lot more action, and a lot of what you're doing is based on like using the combo systems and using the key regeneration and using these different systems that aren't in a Dark Souls. So like unlike Dark Souls where your stamina can go down, like if you run out of stamina in Dark Souls, you just can't do anything. You just wait, and it comes back. But in this game, if you run out of stamina, you enter this kind of like tired mode where you're like heavy breathing and hunched over, and enemies can rail on you. Uh, so you have to pay attention to different things. You can't play it like Dark Souls because you'll have a bad time of it. Um, the trick is actually to do combos and then regenerate your key by pressing R1 at a certain time or timing, I guess. After it's pretty easy to figure out once you figure it out. Like there's kind of a glow to your character at that point where you can hit it and you'll regenerate a big chunk of your keys, so you can you know do a combo and dodge afterwards when the enemy starts attacking you, or you can do a combo and regenerate a bit and then move around and continue with another combo, or just go directly into another combo in some cases if you're feeling extra lucky. So there there is this kind of system that is interesting and different. It's not the same as anything that you've played before, and it has all these other things going on. The weapon systems aren't the same. You don't upgrade your weapons. You get a million drops. It feels like Diablo in the sense that like when you kill enemies, you get drops and they have like various levels. Like there's white for just your common items, and then they get like blue, yellow, purple. Like it's the same kind of progression as like an MMO for weapons and things like that. When they drop, there's like rarities instead of, and like almost everybody is dropping a weapon. Like it's just constant. You're constantly getting new stuff. So of course the durability for these things is low. So going through a stage with one single weapon is might be okay, but it might not. Your weapon might start to break, and when it breaks, it gets really low in durability. The effectiveness of the weapon gets lower, so you start to do less damage. Your armor starts to protect you less, and you have the option to either search through the inventory of all the stuff you picked up and find something better, which is pretty much what you'll be doing the entirety of the first part of this demo. Like if you have stuff, you don't need to repair it. You're almost always getting new armor that's better. So you're probably just, I mean, I just swapped armor. If my armor started to break, I just sold that stuff and swapped into some new stuff in its place.
In the second part of the game, when you don't have that as much of an option to get better stuff, you'll get to a point where you just there's nothing better coming. So, or you'll get armor that's too heavy and your character isn't upgraded to handle it, so you won't be able to dodge anymore. So you won't be able to switch out. You'll have to use things. There's items to repair your weapons and armor. There's a type of glue for your armor that repairs your armor, and then there's whetstones for your items for your weapons. That and it repairs a generous amount. It doesn't repair it 100%. It repairs it 50%. And if you once you find weapons you like and you don't want to switch out, you the drops for whetstone and glue is like pretty constant, so you never really run out of those things. And in most of the cases, I was using them up, trying to use them up because I would find more than I even needed. So it's a it seems brutal at first, where like all your stuff is breaking all the time, and you're just like, this is not balanced correctly. But like when you play it more, you realize like, oh, it is. I can these drops for these whetstones and glue is constant. You're always full of those things. So you kind of end up in a situation where like it's like a minor thing you have to worry about, but not something you have to always worry about. Like it kind of feels like you would in the beginning. And I think like that really helps it. I mean, it adds another layer, but it doesn't. It's not broken, I don't think, and it feels good. So this game has like a lot of things like this. You have a kind of a spirit animal that comes with you as well that gives you bonuses. So when you attach a certain spirit animal to your character, it gives you certain resistances or bonuses in some cases, and they all the spirit animals have their basic this kind of like special attack for them. I imagine that when the full game comes out, you'll be able to find different spirit animals than the four that are in this demo. I'm assuming like you'll get higher level ones or secret ones or ones that are more hard to find. It seems like a kind of an extra cool thing that they're adding. Plus, there's a lot of upgrading to do. You have three weapon types. I'm expecting more probably in the full game. Even though right now there's not, I'm expecting all the weapon types from Tokiden. So I'm expecting gloves. I'm expecting like dual swords or something. I'm expecting things like that to show up because it seems likely that maybe it won't even show up in this. Maybe there'll be a sequel or something where it does show up. But I'm thinking that it feels like it should have those things, and there's space for it in the menu. So it seems like when if you're playing the game when you're going through it, you're gonna level up and you're gonna get too much stuff. You're gonna have too many points and not enough weapons. So I'm assuming that there's gonna be more. But beyond the weapon upgrades for your skills, like there's stances for each weapon. You have three different like a low, medium, and high stance plus a slash for your stances, and you can combo in between slow hits to medium hits to strong hits, and you can upgrade like the types of damage and the types of combos you can do with those low, medium, and high stances. So there's a lot to think about with the battles, and when you're fighting, it's a lot more complex than Dark Souls, where you're just basically like once you get a weapon, you have one kind of attack set, and each in this game each weapon has three attack sets. So you're going through it, and it's it's a mess. It's a mess at first because like you're just like this is too much. It's too complicated. But again, once you start to get used to it, you start to kind of get into the flow of it. You start to feel how it should be, and that's how I'm. That's the point I'm at with it now. Um, I felt like it's done in a really good way, where you just have a kind of steep learning curve in the beginning, but once you get it, the game kind of clicks. It's this very similar to Dark Souls in that sense. Like once it clicks really good, and you start to feel like, oh, this game is going to be awesome. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. There are bosses in this game. Um, it's like fighting Dark Souls bosses, except um, I want to say these bosses are a different kind of fight. It's not like a Dark Souls fight where you're like methodically dodging and like attacking just at certain points. Like in this case, it's a lot more like something like Tokiden where you're kind of fighting a longer battle and you can, hit enemies at certain points to maybe bust them out of a combo or to kind of knock more stamina off of them or do more damage depending on the area you're hitting. Some of them are weak in certain areas, and it feels a lot more like a cross between Dark Souls and Tokiden than anything. Um, and I think it works. It works really well. And they still have some things to sort out with the bosses though. Not that they're too difficult, but I mean when I was playing the first time they felt really difficult. Like I had to try a million times to beat the bosses. And then like now that I figured everything out, I go in and I think, well, these are just too easy now. They're you know, there's only two bosses in the demo, and the first one is, you can actually play it like a Dark Souls boss, and it works that way. You can go through the game and play it like Dark Souls in this case. Um, and for the first boss it works. For the second boss, not so much. But with the second boss, you can stun lock the boss. Like using your kind of spirit animal, you can get a kind of special effect on your weapon that gives you like an unlimited stamina combo. And you'll find that like, oh, once you get the kind of animal out and the boss's stamina is zero, you can stun lock them. Just kind of do this infinite combo. And if you have a summon with you, you can just once you start that combo, you can just continue it on until the boss dies. So it's kind of broken that way. It's a little bit broken, and in not in the direction of hard. It's broken in the direction of too easy in some places. What even though on the surface and in the initial try with it seems really hard. And it would, I mean, obviously it would be harder if you didn't have a summon with you. But overall, Nioh is. I am originally before I played this, I only played it because people were telling me on my when I was streaming Dark Souls that I should try out the demo, and I thought like, oh, okay, I'll give it a shot, and then I gave it a shot, and now I'm like pretty excited for this game. I'm actually gonna buy it when it comes out. I'm feeling like it's good. It's a lot of fun, and it has I want to say more stuff to learn and more I don't know if depth is the correct word that I want to use here, but it's something like that than even a Dark Souls does because there's just so many more layers of stuff you have to worry about in the fighting. So the fighting is a bit more deep than Dark Souls. It's also faster paced and more actiony, but it definitely leaves you with a lot more things to worry about and to think about when you're fighting. And I think it works. It's just a fun game. It works in ways that Dark Souls doesn't. I mean, it's not that not to say it's better than Dark Souls because I don't think it is, but it's different from Dark Souls pretty markedly in a lot of ways, but gets the same kind of essence where it's hard enough that when you beat the stage, it feels really good. And I'm really excited to get the full game for this, just to get more areas, because I've probably played through the demo now like 10 times. And it's really quick now. Now, like Dark Souls, like once you figure stuff out, it makes the gameplay really quick. I can go through the first stage in like 10 minutes now. And the second stage is pretty similar and go through it in maybe 15. And it's it's so, easy and quick to go through right now after you get used to how everything works and how the game is played. And I think it's good. It's interesting that way. It reminds me of um, Dark Souls, but mixed with Tokiden. And I liked both of those games, so I'm actually pretty excited for this game. So I'm gonna pre-order this. It's definitely going on my buy list now. So it's rare that I play a demo and end up thinking like this was amazing. I want to get it, but this is like one of those rare times. I'm actually like pretty excited for this game. So yeah, that's about it. I just wanted to talk about Neo a little bit I don't know, urge you guys to try it if you can, because it's a lot of fun. And if you can get past the initial learning curve of it, I think you'll really enjoy it, like I've been enjoying it. And now I'm just like been co-oping with people online. I've just been working as a summon to go into their areas and help them out with their bosses or find stuff, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah, if you haven't, check out Neo on the PS4, the demo. It's Nioh is the way that it's spelled, not like Neo, like from the Matrix. Um, the I was pretty excited. I'm pretty excited for this. Um, the Neo is like a type of Buddhist sculpture, and I yeah, I mean, if I've mentioned it before, I studied Japanese Buddhist sculpture in college. It was one of my majors was art history, and when I studied in Japan, I studied almost entirely Japanese religious art, which was a lot of this kind of stuff that's in the game. And I thought like it's interesting to me for that reason alone. But like I'm interested to see where the story goes and what it has to do with Neo and if I'm fighting them or if I am them. But it's pretty interesting. I don't know. I'm pretty excited for this game to come out, and I hope it comes out soon because I'd like to get into it more. But yeah, so check out the Neo demo on the PS4 and let me know what you think. If you played it and you thought it was too hard, um, let me know that too. Because I'm a lot of people I talked to just said it's too hard. It's not balanced well, and I would tended to agree in the beginning, but after I played through it, I thought, oh, it's not. It's really not. Um, and I've really come to like Neo, and I don't know. Just let me know what you guys thought of Neo. And if you haven't played it yet, download it and give it a shot. Just let me know what you think. So, yeah, I will talk to you guys next time.